Hello, everyone. Welcome again. Ricky, I feel like I literally got to see three. This is the third time I'm seeing Ricky today. Um, I start to get like very like attached to everybody.
Yeah, we keep running into each other, don't we, today?
Yeah, very much so. It's lovely. I mean, that's always when I think about this organization, I just think about the community the most. It's really delightful. We're gonna get started in a couple, like in 1 minute. We're just gonna run through the slides. Please take a look at our upcoming offerings. There's some really interesting stuff. There was also a launch, another launch of perfect AI Builders Weekly with Aton, which I'll be there. I know who you're really coming to see is me. Okay, we're a couple minutes uh into it because I was stealing Terry's time. Very very much so. Welcome everybody to Book Locally. Our next session. And my name is Alexandra. I will be your humble webinar moderator for the day. As always, if you haven't been in a session with Terry, well, welcome. You're in for a treat. But I believe if you have, you know the drill. Very interactive and participatory. She really wants you to just feel free to say what you got to say when you got to say it. If you're having any issues coming off the mic and you want to just type in the chat, she's really good about that, but just in case, I'll be right behind her, supporting her all the way. Before everybody hops off the call today, please take a moment. I'll be dropping our feedback form in the chat. We've been getting feedback. It's been really, really helpful. Please continue to give us feedback, warm and cool, because the best way that we learn is by finding areas for improvement. This is a live stream session, so if there is any discomfort of speaking on a live stream, we just want to let you know about that. If there's any technical or troubleshooting issues, please let me know. And otherwise, I warmly welcome the great Harry Moten, CAIO, and MBA. I'm so excited to have you again in my life, and enjoy your webinar, everybody.
Welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. We are on session 5 today, 5 of 6. I'm over here and don't know about you, but I'm over here with my coffee because spring forward, daylight savings always whoops my butt for a good month because I don't know if anybody is like me, I'm a night owl. So for the past 2 nights, I'm actually back home now in South Texas. I've been in Austin with my daughter. And so 1:30 in the morning, we are literally dancing around her apartment, listening to my 90s Spotify list because we were wide awake because of this darn spring forward. So hopefully I will be good. I am boosted up on caffeine right now. But today, what we're going to go through is talking about how you can get booked to do, again, speaking engagements, training, and things like that when you may not have domain expertise in a particular industry. So I know one of the things that kind of we keep coming back to every week is the concern of, okay, well, Terry, I don't know enough, or Terry, I don't necessarily have expertise in that industry. So I'm going to walk you through some things. And again, I am going to be using what my journey has been. So just really quickly, if anybody here is new, I am now since January of 23 is when I have been doing AI training. And just, I would say, over the last maybe 3 to 4 months, I've kind of broadened my scope to where I'm doing more advisory services as well. But the bedrock of what I do is going into organizations, communities, businesses, and doing AI training. So that is just as a reminder, if this is the first session you've been in, in, the training aspect is a great door opener. A lot of times, from what I've seen, a business or a company may not yet be ready to engage you in, if it's fractional services, fractional CAIO services you're offering, or if it is some type of AI consulting, they may not be ready to engage that yet. They are much more open to bring you in, though, to do training for their organization. So let me kind of share my screen. As always, I do have a couple of slides we're gonna go through and talk through. And if you would, Alex, whenever you get a chance, if you have not, Alex will drop those slides, the slide deck for you, as well as a kind of a little handout that I provided also. So let
Already
me.
done, Terry.
Okay, awesome. So again, today it's about, industry entry without domain expertise. And I want to just give you some examples, some very recent examples of what that's looked like for me, so it can hopefully open up your eyes on what can be done. A couple of great things, or two things that you can look at. My background is sales, marketing, business development, entrepreneurship, and leadership. That's what I've done for the past 25 years in some form or another. And again, in entrepreneurship. I just did a couple of weeks ago a training for a top real estate office. A broker had me come in and do some training with her agents. I had no experience whatsoever in it. And I told her the other thing is, you're not wanting to kind of put on that, oh yeah, I've got all the expertise in the world, when you don't. And I told her, I said, I don't have domain expertise in that area. But what I do know is your realtors are business owners. I know business owners like inside and out. I can come in and I can tailor it for you. And she told me afterwards, I'm going to actually have her do a testimonial. She was blown away. She said, Terry, I would have never guessed you hadn't worked with realtors over and over and over again, because I know how to customize it for them. Another example of the importance of being booked locally. Again, there's more than enough in your own backyard. And this example is, it's normally 3 to 5 times a year. The last 2 years, going on 2 years, I have done a training, come in and done training for Texas A&M Victoria. They have a nonprofit center, and I've come in and done training for nonprofits in the region. Like I said, 3 to 5 times a year, the last kind of going on 2 years. The most recent one I did earlier this year, and I want you to follow why it's important to, again, start getting out there and look in your local community. And it doesn't have to be a company that you're going after. Earlier this year, I think it was January, it might have been January, February, I did a training for them. They had 22 nonprofit leaders there, probably represented. It might have been, 15 nonprofit organizations. From that, and again, we're looking at January, February. From that, I have now a college that has, and I was just looking it up, that has 4 campuses. They had someone that was there, a chief of staff that was there. They have 4 campuses, and I'm now in the process of putting a proposal together for them, because they want training for, leadership team for sure, most likely faculty and staff, possibly students. Definitely need help with AI use policy and kind of getting that governance piece set up. So they're kind of waiting on me just to get the proposal to them. So that's the first thing that came out of it. Second thing that came out of it was there was an EDC, Economic Development Corporation, that was there of a city that's actually about 20 minutes from this college, from the main hub of this college. So these two are close. I just met with them yesterday, this EDC director, the chamber director, and then 2 other people who were part of the EDC who had come to my training. And what they want me to do there is they want to do quarterly workshops for for the community. And one of the things that I'll share with you is one of the things we always get stuck on in the beginning. And sometimes I still am kind of working out some of my pricing. And a lot of times you may get stuck in the beginning with pricing, and you want to go out there, you hear about others who may have more experience, or just, they're ready to go out there and charge huge amounts to come in and do an hour-long training, a 90-minute training. One of the things I want you to think about, because you can actually go and do a lot of deep research on kind of what fee structure you could consider, kind of based on the area that you're in and what others are charging. But I encourage you to look at the long game in being able to work with a client and being able to embed yourself in a community. Because could I have, when I met with this EDC director and the chamber director, and they said that, again, initially they wanted a big kickoff training, and then they said, no, we actually want quarterly trainings the more we taught. Could I have gone in and had high dollar amount? I think absolutely. But I kind of gave an amount, and I said, but let me put a proposal together for the rest of it for this quarterly training. And so what I'm going to be doing now, instead of doing a one-shot thing, the goal is to do not only quarterly training, but also, and again, keep this in mind of how you embed yourself in a community. I'm also going to offer, it might be a couple of times a year, intensives. And what that intensive is, and I'd encourage you all to kind of to write that down as a strategy. What an intensive would be is, again, going into, and it's great when you're doing it with, when you can partner with a chamber or an economic development corporation, but it's you going in and doing, whether it's a 3-hour or a 4-hour, you could do a 5, but I think for me, 4 hours is probably the sweet spot. But you go in and do a training. That organization that you had partnered with, they're not paying you for that. Those that are coming in, they will be paying to be there. And what I'm setting up now, because I'm starting to replicate this in multiple communities, I'm setting up an intensive for business owners, and I'm setting up a separate intensive for career professionals. As of now, the one for career professionals, I'm trying to decide if I'm going to have C-suite go to that one, or if they're going to go to the business owner one. Probably going to go to the business owner one. But look at doing 2 intensives that might be 4 hours. Now, if you don't feel confident in being able to do that length of time for you because you may be new to kind of the AI space in terms of doing training, set it up as a 90-minute intensive. But now I'm going to have, and my plan is with each of these, it has to be a minimum of 10 people in each intensive. I am now with that, doing that type of approach, instead of just going and saying, oh yeah, I want $20,000, for a training, or, I want $7,000 or $5,000 or whatever the number is for one training. Now I am embedding myself in that community. And not only, again, would I be getting compensated, like I said, from coming in, doing a quarterly training, having those intensives, but then there's going to be people that are there. There are going to be business owners that are there. There'll be career professionals that are there that want me to come in, want to introduce me to their, CEO. And then I'll be able to also get, whether it's fractional work, training inside of these organizations and companies that are attendees. So look at that thought process. I know right now you see out there in the industry, you may see a lot of what I call money grabs, but you want to work smartly when you're going in. So, and again, and we're going back to everything that came from that one, that one event. Outside of that, there is a nonprofit that I'm putting the proposal together for, that they're like, Terry, we already want you to come in to do training. Just give us a proposal. And then I meet with another nonprofit next week. So this is why in your own backyard, there's a ton of things that you have the ability to do. So look at owning, like I said, I can't stress enough. Look at owning your backyard and how you can create an ecosphere around you and what you do. So in terms of like not having that industry, domain expertise. So you need to, number one, be able to have enough context about the industry so you sound informed. And the best way to do that, and we're going to go through a little, exercise here in a minute, is, using deep research. You can get a ton of information about an industry going through deep research. You need to be curious. You need to ask, again, whoever might be bringing you in, business owner, CEO, HR manager bringing you in to do some, training for their teams, or an EDC. You want to be able to ask questions. That's another thing you can get from deep research, understanding what questions you should be asking. And then you want to be able to look at an industry, look at a company, and be able to spot some areas where AI may be able to help. And you can do kind of training on those pieces. So one of the things that I want to do is show you how I prepare when I'm going to, again, have a discussion with a decision maker in an industry that I don't have a domain expertise in. And so let me kind of walk you through that. And and I want to go ahead and give a heads up. I want to have one of you, we're going to kind of go through this scenario with you. If there is an industry, and it may be an industry that you know some about, but you don't know how confident you feel going in, to do, say, AI training, or some type of AI speaking engagement. So if you want to kind of look at an industry you're considering, drop that in the chat, and we'll pick one of those and kind of walk through this process. But here's kind of 4 steps that I go through. And again, all of this is for the most part using deep research. So again, understanding the industry landscape, looking at what are some repetitive work areas where AI can likely fit, that you can go in and that can be part of the training. Be able to build an ethical position around AI. And what I mean by that is, as you start building your consultancy, one of the things you're going to have to think about is, what is your position on AI? So for me, one of the things is I don't want to work with an organization where their first thought is, we're bringing in an AI and I want to do mass layoffs. That does not gel with how I want to work and how I want to operate. I want to be able to work with an organization who sees AI is going to augment, their teams. There may be some streamlining, down the line, but that's not what they're talking about just day in and day out. Hey, we're bringing in AI and we're cutting jobs left and right. And then you go in and again, you prepare some really good discovery questions. So is there somebody who has an industry that they want to take a look at? And I'm going to, again, kind of show you what I do. Anybody there?
Nobody has volunteered yet. You said like an example of an industry that you want to give speakers.
Industry that you're wanting to, to go in and do some training in, do some speaking in. And again, whether it's an industry you may not feel 100% comfortable about because you don't have the domain expertise, or it may be one you do. You have some domain expertise and you're just not quite sure.
So Ricky says funeral homes and cemeteries.
All right. So Ricky, tell me, is that an area that you're looking at doing?
Actually, it really is. That's kind of where I'm putting my energies into looking at it. And I'm just barely getting started. But because here's the thing, I want to focus with small businesses. Terry, as you know, my background is HR. And be able to provide the HR services for these small businesses who cannot afford full time. So there's a lot of, like I said, these small businesses now. So that's where I'm thinking a niche that I don't think has been tapped.
But 100% agree that would be right here. Funeral homes and cemeteries, a wide open market. And then Marilyn, you're saying wholesale fuel distribution and energy solution business. Tell me a little bit about that as well. If you're able to come off mute, Marilyn.
Okay, there it goes. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It's a petroleum company. The company I'm looking at, but it's in this industry where they sell petroleum throughout the United States, and now they're crossed over into, I think, 2 other countries. And now they're getting into the electric, what do you call those, charging stations? They're getting into that where they're putting them all over the country. So I've just started to really research it and stuff, and it's pretty interesting, but that's basically what they do. They distribute petroleum throughout the world. And I know nothing about, I'm sorry?
No problem. We're going to look at these 2 examples. All right, so let me start. I'm going to start with the funeral homes and cemeteries. And one of the things, again, back to doing, everyone's on here has done deep research before in one of the platforms. Drop a 1 if you have. If you've done deep research, a 2 if you have not. I'm assuming everybody has done deep research, whether it's been Gemini, ChatGPT, Perplexity. Has everyone done deep research? If you have, drop a 1. If not, drop a 2.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So everyone has. So I'm going to do these 2 examples. One I'll do in Gemini. One I'll do in Perplexity. I'm going to also give you a caveat and kind of my opinion based on my usage. I personally, right now, still lean towards Gemini, providing the best research. ChatGPT, I haven't done a deep research yet with its 5.4 upgrade. I'll be working on that this week. One of the things to be careful for with ChatGPT is if you do deep research, if you've got a paid plan, you have about 25 or so deep researches that you can do per month. Now, let's say you run a deep research. And we know how ChatGPT is. It's always going to ask you, oh, would you like me to also do this? With deep research, it does the same thing. It's like, would you also like to know this information, or would this be beneficial? Every time you say yes, or you want it to, add another piece in, keep in mind that's burning through one of your, if you're a paid plan, it's burning through one of your 25 deep researches. For whatever reason, I did not realize that when I had it kind of continuing to iterate on a deep research that I was on, and I knew I should have had at least 10 to 12 deep researches left. And they were like, you're at the end of your deep research, you'll have a late kind of deep research that'll be done, but it won't reset for like another 2 weeks. So just be careful with that. With Gemini, if you've got a paid Gemini, the plus plan or pro with Gemini, the $20 a month plan, you get roughly about 20 deep researches per day. So kind of big difference there. And of course you can do Perplexity. So what I am going to do, let me just, to make it simple, hold on. I'm going to screenshot, hold on, let me get that out of the way. I'm going to screenshot this info that I'll be asking it to look up. So that one, because this is what I kind of look for when I'm going to the LLM for deep research on an industry, and I am going to have it come over here and do the same. Let me pull some of this, because this is what I want it to walk through. Let me jump over And I'm going to start with Gemini. And let me just upload those two things really quickly. Those two screenshots. Give me 1 second there. So there. And then that second piece. And so with Gemini, okay, I'm looking at our time. So I'll go ahead and put it in thinking mode. Hopefully it'll hopefully get through in about 5 to 7 minutes. It won't take too terribly long. And I won't give as extensive of a kind of prompt. So it won't take so terribly long. So let's do this with the funeral homes and cemeteries. And what I'm going to do, a lot of times, depending on what I am researching, and this is research in general, I am now, if you've ever heard me do other training before, I have been and still am, a huge proponent, obviously, using Dictate, just kind of free flow talking. Your prompt, I have over the last year and a half, I just have not subscribed a lot to, the prompt having to have the certain structure, where you got 10,000 different structures out there to use. I'm more about the contextual prompting. However, in some areas, one of the things I do is, again, I'll ask that platform, whatever platform I'm using, look, here's what I'm looking for, give me the prompt to use, structure the prompt for me, for a deep research. I'm not going to do that right now because I think it'll end up giving a lot of information that's going to pull a long time. But again, one of the things that I do is I will tell it, just here's what I'm looking for, give me the prompt to use if I need to be structured about it. So let's do this. I need to have some deep research. I'm actually working with someone who wants to start breaking in and doing AI training for funeral businesses and cemeteries. I uploaded 2 screenshots of some of the type of information that needs to be gathered. She does not have a huge domain expertise in that industry, but it seems to be a pretty wide open industry in terms of providing, AI training and AI advisory services. Go through, answer these questions, and I need you to come back with a plan on how someone without domain expertise can break in and do training starting in their local and regional area. And be sure to highlight, again, the things you see here. Again, a little bit about the industry, the top pressures, what are the friction points, areas that AI, low-hanging fruit areas that AI can be used that don't need to have someone with high technical skill on the back end from an implementation standpoint. And also being able to set up again, what's that way that she breaks in and can successfully do so within the next 30 to 60 days and get her first training opportunities or speaking opportunities booked. Okay, so let me just click on the start research here. Once it generates the plan, we'll let this pull in the background. And then we're going to kind of have a discussion. I'm going to get Marilyn's also going on Perplexity. All right, so we'll let that start its research on Perplexity with Miss Marilyn. Let me also, hold on, let me go back because me and my undiagnosed ADHD brain, let me go back and get exactly, I know it was wholesale. Here we go. And And let's jump over to Perplexity. Enlarge this just a bit. We're going to do some deep research there. How many of you are using, or drop in the chat what you use, what platform or platforms you use for deep research? I'd like to see what are you all using for your deep research. So if you
You
would,
said Claude and Perplexity Pro.
okay, awesome, awesome. Yep, I've got Perplexity Pro also. So let me drop these two things as well. And I am hoping when I do dictate, for whatever reason, it used to be, at least on the free plan, when I was doing dictate with Perplexity Pro, for some reason, it did not like my Southern twang and it would transcribe all manner of things that I did not say. So let's see if we can get this going here too. So let's see. I actually need you to do deep research on the wholesale fuel distribution and energy solutions business. This is actually going to be for a colleague who wants to break into that industry. She is also a chief AI officer. She wants to do training and speaking engagements in that industry. I've uploaded 2 screenshots of a kind of a framework that I use in doing deep research when going into an industry that I don't have domain expertise in. And this is what I'm showing her how to do. So provide research on the information that's on both of these screenshots. So because she does not have domain expertise, looking at kind of what's going on in the industry regarding AI, what are top pressures in that industry, what are kind of some of the friction points. And again, this is not about implementations. It's not about building back ends. It's about being able to start conversations to come in and do initially to do trainings that could build to larger advisory services and larger builds and implementation processes there. If you would break that down and also give how she can start in the next 30 to 60 days without the domain expertise, breaking into that industry to doing training and speaking engagements where she's highly sought after and she is credible in her knowledge base of how she can come in and help. I'm not even going back to, yeah, I know it didn't have all the words right. And of course, it's got great inference, so it should have put in the right things normally. And just for sake of time, I don't. Normally, I'll say, if you've got clarifying questions, ask those. I'm not doing that. We'll just kind of let this run. I'm sure it's already pulled for Gemini. So here, let's see some of the things that Gemini came up with. And Ricky, I'll send this to you, and as well, Marilyn, when it pulls, I'll send this to you as well. Because if you have listened to previous trainings that kind of in the previous sessions in the series, remember when you're going in, your goal is always, or this, I'm not going to say your goal is, my goal is always for that audience, depending on the amount of time I have in front of them. If it's something that's, a 45-minute or something shorter, where I'm doing more of a talk, or if it's at a conference or something like that, kind of different story. But, I want them to walk away with anywhere from if it's like a 45-minute thing, an hour thing, more of a conference or a quick training, I want them to walk away with 1 to 3 things they did not realize they could do with AI. And that and that they can implement that day. You don't have to go out there and get all fancy pants and showing all of these, high level, automations or high level kind of thought processes. If you are specializing in the non-tech business world for non-tech business professionals, for them to have been successful, 1 to 3 things, that's what you want to teach them by the time they leave, that they can go implement that day. And you want to tell them that this is what you're doing. And at the end, remind them, now I've shown you, it should be at least anywhere from 1 to 3 things you can go implement that day. That's how you get called back. That's how you then get embedded from training to, then coming into an organization, doing more detailed training, more comprehensive training, and then having the opportunity to do advisory services. If you're doing a longer session, again, then what you're wanting them to take away, it just kind of expands. It may be 3 to 5 things. Don't promise you're going to teach them 10, but whatever level that people you're in front of, whether they have never used AI they're more of a beginner dipping their toe, or somebody who, they believe is a power user. And I will tell you, most people who self-identify in a general population as a power user, they're using it for very simple things and not really using it for the full capability that AI has. They're using it for emails. They're using it for, again, it might be summarizing PDFs and summarizing some data. They're using it for social media captions. They're not using it as a thought partner, as a sparring partner, or something like that. So just really quickly, I want to kind of walk through. Again, this is again the importance of going through, deep research. Of course, we've all done deep research. We know what we get back. Let me make this just a little bit bigger so you can see. And again, I'm sorry, you'll get vertigo as I'm going through this, because it's not meant for you to see every little piece of it, just, to have an idea. So of course, going through, some things in the industry, looking at, of course, very important to know, what's the organizational hierarchy, the roles and responsibilities. From there, then you can start breaking down, because now as you see the different roles and responsibilities, you can also start going after, as you're looking in your local, again, your back door, you're looking in your local market. What you can do is start putting on the radar, okay, what conferences are in kind of my local geographic area for funeral directors? What conferences are out there for cemetery management? Because now you want to start making a list, because as you knock down 1 or 2 of these trainings for, say, Ricky, with funeral and cemetery, local funeral and cemetery operations, now you are able to start going and kind of positioning yourself for conferences. And I'm not even saying that you have to wait for that. You don't. You can, if you've got good information that you've been able to pull together, and you feel you can absolutely go ahead and kind of start looking at some of these, again, local conferences, local industry groups, go ahead and start getting in front of them. Again, now looking at the friction points, now is where you start identifying, okay, here's a couple of things I could probably go in and start teaching about. So again, looking at how you're using it, how you can show them how to use it. And I go back to, there is still, and I think for the foreseeable future, there is still such a vast disconnect with AI literacy out there, where business professionals do not know how to use, the AI model of choice that their company has. If their company has even kind of done a use policy and saying, hey, look, this is what we're using. There's such an opportunity just to try to level set, upskill, reskill, whatever you want to call it, people. And like I said, it's a good entry point in being able to do advisory services. And so now, remember, I said, hey, we want 30 to 60 days. We want Ricky to be able to go out and start being able to book things. So it starts kind of giving some information. Now, had I done a more detailed prompt, it would have, of course, pulled back more detailed information there. But again, right here, easily ought to be able to put together, a 60 minute to 90 minute type of, very interactive training that can be done, say, for a staff meeting. And that's where you start. Go out to some of these industries and say, hey, I would love to come in and do a training for an upcoming staff meeting. Again, whether in person, whether virtual, what have you. On the wholesale roadmap, and here, let me just download that really quickly. But this is where you start arming yourself. And like I said, you are always up front. You are not, you don't have the domain expertise, but what you have is you have the AI knowledge that you can customize for a specific industry. That's what you have that is so very valuable. And there's times as well, and you can position yourself like this, and of course, you're not going out there trying to, knock down the enterprise, organization that's there in your backyard. You are starting small and building your way up. But there's a lot of times what has great value is because you don't have the domain expertise, you can also position that you come in and can look at things with fresh eyes, that you're not kind of caught up in the whole same old because you've been in the industry for 48 years. You've got a fresh pair of eyes, and you're able to again take AI and put it into that industry in ways that people that's been in it might not have seen before. And so again, are some of that same information coming back, top pressures, the supply security infrastructure constraints. One of the things, regulatory information, one of the things I'll say, and back to what we were looking at earlier, really needing to understand the common roles, the responsibilities, looking at the friction points. It is, and if you're just beginning, it is a lot easier to look at industries that may not have such high regulation. So I would think, the kind of the wholesale energy business probably has, fairly high regulation. And again, Marilyn, you're not going out trying to knock down, shale oil or anything like that. You're looking at, it might be smaller operations that are going to be in your local area. So make sure you all kind of cut your teeth on that. But using deep research, like I said, allows you to get trained up pretty quickly in an area you don't have true domain expertise in. In terms of kind of turning research into ethical positioning, and first let me stop. Any questions over anything I have gone through so far? Okay, have I done much research, Ricky says, and deep research with granola? I have not. My daughter, actually, I think in school, uses granola. Tell me, what have you seen, Ricky? Have you done deep research with granola?
I have not done any deep research from granola. I just found out about it, and it's what I like about it is it does the resources, the sightings, but also I really like the way it's set up for organizing all of your researches. So I'm just barely touching the tip of the iceberg with it.
Got you. Anybody else out there using granola or have heard of granola? I know I've heard of it, but I haven't used it. Anybody else use it? Okay. And also, another thing you can do and one of the reasons I like Gemini. Heard of it, Heather? Okay. One of the reasons I like Gemini, of course, is because of, with Notebook LM. Another way for you to get trained up, whether it's a new industry or an industry you've, known for years, but to really start getting trained up and building assets that you can use in doing training and speaking engagements is, again, using Notebook LM, using that audio part. You can do everything in the world right now in Notebook LM, but really being able to leverage that, being able to really leverage that. And in terms of ethical positioning, so what I mean with ethical positioning, that's, being honest with someone that, again, you don't have years of domain expertise, that you are really, trying to understand more of what's going on in their industry. This one, I use this, all the time. Been researching common challenges in your field. Again, just would love to kind of confirm, are these, really challenges that are showing up in your day-to-day environment? But turning that research into ethical positioning, you're just trying to have conversations, because then conversations lead you to being booked. It is not always a straight shot of reach out and now I'm booked. You want to start having conversations with people, because a lot of times, again, they don't know what they don't know. Decision makers, whether they are conference organizers, whether they are the president of the local whatever club or industry association, or the small to mid-sized business in that area, they don't know what they don't know. In AI, my daughter says it repeatedly. She's getting ready to graduate with her master's degree in May. And she tells me all the time, Mom, you're in an echo chamber. Mom, nobody knows that you are in an echo chamber. She's like, you and your little AI friends over there, your CASO friends, y'all are in an echo chamber. Nobody out here in the real world is talking about that. And it's very true. So you're just trying to understand what's going on in an industry or with a position. Then, of course, again, like I said, being able to ask really good questions and just being interested in people and what they know about AI, how it's affecting them. Asking them, with your organization or with your team or your company, like, what the common things that we should be asking. What are people feeling? What have you heard people talk about? Are you hearing people say that they're concerned about AI? Tell me more about that. Like, what specific things come up? Are they apprehensive? Do they think it's going to take their job? For anybody excited in your organization, what are they talking about? But just having kind of very informal conversations, and you get more information than you would ever realize. And tell them, anybody in here, has anybody ever done sales before? Been in a sales position? Or and Marilyn, so what it's chamber is that's when you have the easiest way to describe it. And with us is, let's say you've got a group of people and y'all are talking about something, and you think everybody else in the world knows it, but they don't. It's just you and your little group of people. Y'all are the only ones that are like talking about it. Kind of, that's what what an echo chamber kind of is. And so with AI, we can, and that's what I see prevents people from really going out there and getting started, is because we talk about it all the time. And you're in here on trainings and you are just really beefing up your knowledge. We assume everybody is doing it. 95% of the people are not. Sure, you trust me. I've been out there 3 years with 95% of people are not doing what we are doing in terms of knowledge, getting leveled up in their knowledge base. So that's what an echo chamber is. So again, and Ricky Bree, I say briefly in sales. Okay. And again, it is about having conversations. That conversation then leads to, it might be a second, third conversation, but it leads then to being booked. So and you've got a sheet that I provided, kind of a sheet that you can use as you start going through. And this can be used, again, whether it's an industry you don't have, a lot of expertise in. and especially an industry that you know you want to go after. Again, looking at what is that industry? What's the top challenges? Again, where those AI opportunities are, kind of that ethical positioning statement. Remember, ethical positioning statement is in the terms of if you don't have a lot of domain expertise, being upfront in the fact that you don't, but you're learning more. You've done some research, so do some initial research first before you go and have a conversation, and then asking those discovery questions. And I wanted to give just a quick example, and then I'm going to open it up for any questions or comments, or if it's something you wanted to work through because there's someone or an industry you want to approach. Again, I want to just give you some areas where I've got no domain expertise, but I keep getting booked in terms of coming in and doing trainings. And one of them is actually in the oil and gas industry. It is for division order analysts. So there is a Houston chapter, and a lot of cities, especially the major cities that have oil industry, oil and gas or energy industry. And this might be something, Maryland as well, you might want to take a look at, because it's adjacent to what you're kind of, where you're wanting to get in terms of with the wholesaler distribution and things like that. It's not the exact same thing, but a division order analyst, a DOA. So they are the people that they go out and they are doing kind of, for lack of a better, so if there's any division order analysts that happen to look at this, I am sorry, I'm butchering what you do. But they're the ones, they work for, for an oil and gas company. And they're the ones who do all the work, pulling titles and clearing things, doing the leases and all that type of work for an oil and gas company when they're working with the, with the landowner. So at a very kind of high level, they do much more than that. But I've done 2 trainings for the Houston area division order analysts, and they have a national parent chapter, the National Association of Division Order Analysts, and I've done 2 trainings for them. No expertise, but I can go in and understand kind of based on what they do. Here's number 1, just how to be able to utilize some of the function and capability in whether it's ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, you name it. One of the areas that you can do an entire training around, and this is anybody out there, is the different ways you can do deep research. This is an area that now in 2025, last year, I did 62 training and speaking engagements. I had well over 5,000 people in front of me. Out of 5,000 people, there were not 20 that had ever heard of or done deep research. And I tell people now when I do training, I'm like, you have such a leg up when you understand the capability of deep research and how to do it for your particular role. You have just went years ahead of the competition. So that's right there is an easy training. Again, just look at different areas. You go into an industry, you go into an organization, what are some things that they might want to do deep research on? The salespeople need to do deep research on competitors, the competition. The marketing department need to do deep research on the psychographics of their, the ideal client. The finance or HR, they need to do deep research on, is there, coming regulation that's being talked about at a state or at a federal level that they may need to know about that's going to impact them. The financial folks, the finance team, doing deep research based on industry trends. Are there things that they need to be aware of that will benefit or hurt them? Again, from a tax standpoint, whatever. Right there, if you are proficient in understanding deep research, that will open the door when you tell organizations or you tell a business, hey, I've got something that is literally going to put you light years ahead of the competition. Again, I've done K-12. I've done a number of in higher ed. I've done public sector, working with city managers. I don't have domain expertise, but what I have is the ability to look at AI, find out what their problems are, how AI can solve it. But overwhelmingly, what opens the door is simple AI literacy and making sure their teams know how to use AI for their respective roles. Any questions that you've got? And I actually look like I'm going to end this one today. Any questions? You all have comments, questions, concerns? Yeah,
First and foremost, as always, thank you, Terry. You're so amazing with everything you present. I really, really appreciate it. I did have one question back here, and now I'm trying to go back and do this. Excuse me. You talked about a 30, 60, 90 day plan to get this set up. You know, in your opinion, what would be probably the biggest bang for the buck to get started?
Biggest bang is it's anybody, and you don't have to admit it if you have. I have before. Has anybody been in MLM or direct sales? You know, the whole friends and family. The biggest bang is reaching out to people who know you and saying, and however you kind of want to phrase it, but let them know you have some, some really great information that businesses, like maybe specifically in their industry, should be aware of about AI. Hey, could we just set up, whether if it's local, if you want to have a cup of coffee, or virtual, could we just set up and have a virtual coffee chat? Because I just want to find out what are you and your organization doing about AI? You're getting a conversation. The easiest conversation to start is with people who know you, who can either make the decision on saying, yes, come into our organization, come into our association, or they can be instrumental in getting you referred to that decision maker. By far, easiest is literally reaching out to the people that you know. After that, I would start looking at, I've been a huge proponent and talk about, again, Rotary. They've got to have at least like 50 speakers a year because they meet on a weekly basis. They are always looking for speakers to come out. Always. You can, I'm telling you, you can get booked to come in and talk to your Rotary. You don't have to be a Rotary member. Sometimes chambers don't let you come in unless you are a chamber member. It just depends on the chamber. Rotary, you can get in. I don't care if it's Rotary, if it's Kiwanis, if it's, again, one of those local groups. Start looking at the business organizations in your area. Ricky, what city do you live in?
I live outside Seattle.
Okay.
It's called Renton, but it's outside Seattle.
Okay. For the ladies that are on here, look up the American Business Women's Association, ABWA. ABWA. The website is abwa.org. abwa.org. There's chapters all across. It's business women, professional business women. It is business owners. Most chapters are about a 50-50 mix. Every month, they have a speaker that comes in. You get 40 to 45 minutes to speak. They love hearing about AI. They always have an AI speaker booked during the year. The person you're looking for in that organization, you're looking for the VP of programming for that organization. And any of the women, if you want to reach out to me, because I'm a member, and I've been on in our local chapters, I've served as from president on down in various capacities. If that's something you're interested in, just shoot me a D. Actually, here, I'm going to put really quickly, and I am going over time. I do apologize. I'm going to put my email in here, or you can also DM me through the group. But I'll put my email in, and you can shoot me a email with your city. Just say, hey, I'd like to be connected to, ABWA chapters in this area, and then I'll send you who I'll get the information for you, who you need to contact and reach out to. But just start reaching out kind of locally, but it starts with the people that know you. Any
Awesome. Thank you.
you're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, and the last thing I'll say is get embedded in your community. I cannot stress enough how EDCs, economic development corporations, EDCs in your community, they are hungry for someone to come in and if you're at all interested, let me just say this, if you're at all interested in EDCs, again, contact me. Shoot me an email, contact me in the community. Let me show you what can be done with EDCs, because I'm working now with about four of them. And that's a market I am actively going after, because I see the way to embed myself in a community. So holler at me if that's something y'all are interested in. Hope y'all have a great 2 weeks before I see you again. I'll see you in the community though. Anything you ever need, just reach out to me.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Terry. My goodness. Incredible. So inspiring. Thank you all so much. See you probably tomorrow, hopefully, and be well and safe, and everyone take care.